Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Act 3, spoilers ahead. Act 3 opens on the reveal that, difficult to summarize plot synopsis time, the real quote-unquote Decembre family's son Verso dies in a fire. Two daughters, Clea and Alicia, are alive and grieving in different ways. The mother, Aline, painted on Verso's old canvas, as did the others. But Aline is keeping our Lumiere people alive year by year, as Renoir is trying to destroy them all and wipe the canvas clean. Painted versions of these people exist. Notably though, our Verso was painted by Aline as a perfect facsimile of dead Verso and lives a doomed eternal existence. Maëlle is Alicia, and a painted Alicia is also here, and coming around to the start of Act 3, Maëlle, I'm gonna call her that, as Alicia clearly prefers that to her, again, quote-unquote real self, wants to keep this canvas she has lived a life in alive. Renoir wants to destroy it to free Aline from her unprocessed grieving and Maëlle from falling into the same trap. Verso is there and quiet, and Maëlle restores Lune and Ciel, painted people, back to quote-unquote life. The gang creates the greatest expedition in history to confront Renoir or get massively over-leveled doing side content, or at least that's the joke, but let's be clear. Doing enough Act 3 side questing to get all the companion camp scenes done did not make me feel that over-leveled. It is a, I would argue, kinda necessary thing to do to get acquainted with all these characters that you're about to make a terrible decision about. That decision is, once you beat Renoir, or rather once Renoir trusts Maëlle to leave after a little longer in Verso's canvas, do you side with Verso or Maëlle? Because Verso says he knows Maëlle will never leave the canvas, and even if she does, Renoir will almost certainly destroy it, killing Lune, Ciel, everyone Maëlle is about to bring back as well. Verso wants to die. He wants to rest, and the child Verso, the genuine part of his soul, nods when asked if he wants to stop. Maëlle, though, does not let him. Maëlle wants to live in this world where she can live and not merely exist as Alicia, and so you have to choose, but put a pin in that. It's time for pretentious video essayist drivel about literature and game design time. Strap in, everyone. I'm gonna make this quick. Stay with me here. Certain games comment not just on the medium, some comment on the human experience, some innovate in gameplay and design, some have great scores and all-time voice acting, some are just beloved because they excel at what they set out to do. But few games do all those things at once, and even fewer were developed by so many people who had barely worked on games before. I don't want to make a toothless video about the objective reasons Clair Obscur is good or interesting or just summarizing the plot, because what should matter on YouTube is actually what I think personally, how I feel as an individual about this game, and what decision did I come to? Well, first, I love Clair Obscur because I really do not like JRPGs. I have never gotten into Final Fantasy VII. Seems cool for its time, but no modern installment has gotten my attention. I find the characters consistently underwritten. I am a Baldur's Gate 1-2 kid at heart. I love Baldur's Gate 1, made by some doctors who hadn't really made games before. But they made a cool fantasy game with a world you can settle yourself into, and when I saw the flashy outfits and JRPG-ness of Clair Obscur, I raised the brow. But when I realized the writing was actually subdued and dark and took itself seriously while being funny at just the right moments and made the turn-based feel more involved, less Pokemon and more building cool broken D&D strats, I got a Baldur's Gate vibe from this game, and I say that all to say, I might listen to recommendations on Final Fantasy now, though it seems like Clair Obscur is so good because it isn't very much like modern Final Fantasy, but the point is, Clair Obscur rules so hard, I'm considering entire new genres of games now. And I think it's because the mystery of what the world is and what will happen to these characters was so exciting for me. Watch the Act 1 and 2 videos I did. I thought Nevrons were fallen expeditioners. I had all my theories. They were mostly wrong, but I loved thinking about the game world. The gameplay is fun and deep and challenging, but I love imagining within a world, painting in my own mind, and Clair Obscur gave me the means to do that. I love thinking about the little gestural village and their combat-centric society. I love thinking about what life will be like in Lumiere when these people are victorious. I love thinking about Lune's parental expectations and her being the real leader of Expedition 33. Games that let me think of its characters and world complexly are games that I love. But what did I decide to do about this world I had come to love? Well, I did both endings because I needed footage for both. I am a YouTuber. But first, I went with Maëlle because, to be honest, I wanted to trust her, just like Renoir, because if Maëlle brings everyone back, gives them normal life expectancies, sets the world in motion, gives it to these people, and after a spell departs, visiting for a few weeks in canvas, a few hours out of canvas at a time, every so often, I do think Renoir could be convinced to let the canvas, the last bit of her soul's soul, to survive. I really do. But Mayel, in the ending we are showed, is not doing any of that. She is older, she hasn't left, and Verso, who begged to be personally not there, is there. Forced to play piano, forced to play music, there is conflict in the canvas. Child Verso is likely still painting under duress. So how about Verso's ending, Verso's ending kills the canvas. It's done. Everyone dies, this world is over, and again, we'll get there. In the quote-unquote real world, Alicia and her family grieve. Clair almost seems to smile. The memory that Alicia has of the canvas world says goodbye to her, to Mayel. This is, in my view, a healthier form of grieving, a beginning to this family, the Decembre family, moving forward. This is a good ending for them, except that is Lune, as Alicia imagines her, as she heals and moves on. And this is Lune's actual last moments, glaring a death stare at the man who just destroyed everything she knew and loved. As long as one of us is standing, this is not over, and she sits down. I like Lune. She's a great character. Kirsty Ryder nailed it, an advantage, etc. And let's take this moment to deal with a big question this game poses. Are these people, Gustave, Ciel, Lune, etc., real? Well, they were created, painted by Aline, and sure seem to have sentience. They feel, they reason, they grieve, they can worryingly be controlled by painters, but I am willing to say, yes, they are real in a meaningful way. They are not humans as we think of them, but I do think, given that they suffer and experience pain and joy and reason and think and question and love and lose and grieve, yeah, that's a person. Maybe not a human, but definitely a person. And Renoir said it, we are pushing the very boundaries of creation. That's a terrible Andy Serkis. It's time to say goodbye until next life. Mind, Verso massacred the search and rescue party. He killed expeditioners. If these people are real, does Verso's suffering matter as much as their existence that he helped wipe out? Also, as Lune said, if Verso just trusted them enough to talk things through, might a better path have presented itself? Is choosing to believe that Mayel will eventually find balance and leave the canvas the actual correct call? I do not know. Transitionary sentence. Aline refusing to leave the canvas is bad. Renoir is right to want her out and right to want Alicia out, but to be fair again, Alicia's real life is in a family that does not support her well. Her real life will be challenging in a way a boss fight isn't, and she is 16, and I understand wanting to stay just a little longer, especially if Renoir cannot be convinced to not destroy the canvas. But yes, I do think just as Gustave had a life that mattered, that ended, Alicia's life matters and is ongoing, and Mayel is not letting Alicia live. It's also hers to live or not as she sees fit, but by falling into oblivion, she will harm more than herself. By not seeking a long-term solution for herself as Alicia and Verso's canvas, she is dooming both to die. Gustave died for Mayel. And for Alicia, for those who come after, for us, tomorrow comes. Maybe Renoir would see reason in time, or maybe he can't be trusted, but trust is a two-way street. I will stress, discourse on these endings should be friendly and open to all interpretations. I certainly welcome that in the comments, but be kind, be empathetic, that is key. Also, for everything I have and will say about Clair Obscur, this is a game. Don't get actually mad at people over a game. That said, I think the reason people are so troubled and argue about the endings is that it does what good video game moral questions do. It is about our real opinions on the world. How would you actually act in a situation like this? As hbomberguy said of Fallout New Vegas' moral choices, siding with the NCR or the Legion or House or fuck it, we ball, yes man, how someone answers those questions leads into how they think society should be structured. But Clair Obscur asks something so much more personal. How do you think you should be structured? How do you grieve, love, live, decide? It is so much more personal than a story about Gustave and company taking down the painters and riding into the sunset could ever be. The expansion of the painters and this world's nature elevates everything within it because, man, we grieved for Gustave, for Expedition 33, everyone did. These are people at a funeral, and I was there too, grieving. And this is a child. Is that nod of I am tired? Ooh, that's a child. Doomed to continue painting when it seems like all he wants to do is play music or ideally rest. If he stops, does this canvas cease to be? oh no, this is the ones who paint from Lumiere, the ones who walk away from Omelas. This is a neglected, miserable, isolated child who makes utopia. Shit. Not a perfect analogy, mind, but it feels kinda intentional. Or is the main reason for Child Verso's suffering the conflict between Renard and Aline? If that stops, does the child suffer? Or couldn't Mayel just take breaks? Is this just a fun JRPG, and am I asking way too many questions of a philosophical nature about a game where it's just fun to make the numbers go up a little bit? Probably yes. But we miss the point. The point of these endings, in my mind, is grief has no simple answers. We can think of some, but experiencing it is another beast and often will lead to harm for more than just yourself. The only solution in either ending, in my mind, is to come together. In Verso's, the family has a chance to reconcile. In Mayel's, if Mayel will listen to the painted people, which it seems like she isn't, she would also eventually choose to leave, to let Verso go, to find a way for the fragment of his soul to live on in a way that it wants to, although then I may be painting what isn't there. But only through trust and coming together, as Lune said, trusting each other enough to talk about this, can either ending create a better future. Only through trust and coming together can grief be processed. I think you are meant to pick Mayel's ending first, and then Verso's, and then you get to think about that. And then you start a new playthrough on Expert because it's time to show Duelist to his boss. Like I said, I love thinking about games. In this case, I do love this game. But as I think about Clair Obscur, I think critically about my own interpretation and relationship with art and games and people. And man, what other game has brought topics like these forward and handled them so well? Not bad for a 30-odd people with the work of so many others, making a bridge for them to walk. Not bad for the greatest expedition in history. Outro time. This video took a lot longer to make than I thought it would. A few disclaimers. I'm aware that all of this is a little too much philosophical arguments and talking and maybe making grander ideas of a game that isn't actually trying to say what I think it's saying. This is a fun JRPG. This is a fun role-playing game that you will just enjoy because the combat's good and the gameplay is good and the story's fun. I don't take anything here so seriously as to get mad at somebody else. I hope you enjoyed this video for what it is. Just thinking about some cool ideas that a video game made me think of, and that is kind of fun because, like, what other games allow me to just go this hard on thinking through the ideas that it's sharing? That is also a big reason why I love this game. That said, I'm going to stop making videos about it now because, like, along with the Game Awards, so much coverage. If I do cover it again, it'll be a silly gameplay video when I go through it on Expert sometime next year. But anyway, new video on Friday. Thank you for watching. I'm going to try to talk a little more in these longer videos at the end and just let you know that I'm thinking about what I'm making because I really love just seeing what I can make on this channel and, like, seeing how it all comes together. Right now, as I have for the last couple years now, like, I'm just enjoying getting a little better at writing and thinking about these things. But I'm going to try to do some cooler stuff. I'm going to try. All right.